Welcome everyone to today's Youth Town Hall meeting on public safety here in the newly renovated Francis L. Cardozo Education Campus. My name is Renaya Dinkins, and I'm a Ward 7 resident, a graduating senior at Benjamin Banneker Academic High School, and the current vice chair of the DC Youth Advisory Council. I would like to thank the mayor for hosting these town hall meetings for DC Youth. I would also like to thank everyone, especially my fellow DC Youth, for coming out to participate in today's discussion. Today we have some of our top city officials here with us to discuss public safety. They include DC Police Chief Kathy Lanier, Deputy Mayor of Education Abigail Smith, DCPS Chancellor Kaya Henderson, and of course, the Honorable Mayor Vincent C. Gray. We are delighted to have you here to inform us as youth about public safety matters in the city. We are especially glad that you are here to address any questions or concerns that we have. Public safety has always been an important issue to youth, especially those of us who use public transportation on a daily basis. With all the recent gun violence across the country and the ever-present crime that comes with living in an urban area, it is great to know that our city's leaders are willing to address youth concerns and work diligently to keep DC a safe place. Please keep in mind that this is a youth town hall meeting, so only those aged 22 and younger will be permitted to ask questions and make comments to the mayor and the panelists. Therefore, I encourage all youth to participate in this dialogue by sharing any questions, concerns, and possible solutions to the issues that are discussed today. So without further ado, we will begin our meeting. At this time, I would like to introduce to you one of my colleagues from the DC Youth Advisory Council. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Robert Gross as he introduces our mayor.
Thank you, Renaya. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Gross, and I'm a 15-year-old junior here at Francis Lewis Cardozo Education Campus. I am also a resident with my family here in Ward 1. I would like to thank Mr. Jennings for extending this opportunity to introduce our mayor. I would also like to thank my principal, Dr. Tanya Rome, for being here today. I'm a very proud Cardozo clerk who is very happy that the mayor chose my school as a location to have today's youth town hall meeting. Before I introduce the mayor, I would like to show my school spirit by sharing a few interesting facts about Cardozo. Did you know that Cardozo was previously known as Central High School? J. Edgar Hoover, who was the first director of the FBI, was a graduate of Central High School. Cardozo was named after noted African-American clergyman, politician, and educator Francis Lewis Cardozo. During the late 1960s, Grammy Award-winning famed singer and entertainer Mr. Marvin Gaye was a student here at Cardozo. These are a few tidbits of Cardozo's rich history. On behalf of the students here at Cardozo and the youth of the District of Columbia, I would like to thank Mayor Gray for taking the time today to address the issues of public safety and hear from the youth. Thank you for your willingness to hear our ideas and perspectives as they relate to public safety in the District of Columbia. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the Honorable Mayor Vincent C. Gray.
Thank you very much, Robert. We're going to have some of our panelists, they'll be coming up very shortly to take a seat. How many of you all knew Marvin Gaye went to this high school? Wow. I'm sure the principal knew that, right? Well, obviously they've had some very famous graduates, probably none more famous than Marvin Gaye, who then went on, I guess he moved out to Detroit at that point, became a part of Motown, and really was one of the people who made Motown as successful as it has been over all these years. And how many of you all even listen to Marvin Gaye at this stage? Marvin Gaye's been... Remix. Wow, he's been gone about almost 30 years, right? Yeah, it's a long time ago. What an incredible talent. Just an incredible musician, an incredible writer. And I was here, I guess, what was it, for the dedication of Cardozo. There was a person who went to school with him here at Cardozo. So anyway, I want to thank all of you all for coming out today to be a part of this discussion. which is probably one of the most important discussions we could have. This is the 19th Youth Town Hall meeting that we have held. This is the third Youth Town Hall meeting we've had on public safety, which is really an important issue for our schools, because even though you know, we're going in the right direction with education, we still have far too many situations involving public safety in our schools here in the city. So I'm glad to see so many people out here today. We want you to ask your questions, but we also want to hear your suggestions as well in terms of how we make every one of our schools a safe place to be. Again, we're delighted to be here at Cardozo. As the principal puts it, this will be the first time in 85 years that Cardozo will have had a home basketball game, right? Yeah, which means almost never. I guess they never had a home basketball game. But if any of you all get a chance to see that section of the building, this is a huge building, maybe one of the largest in the city, but they have a brand new field house with a brand new gymnasium and other wonderful features to it. So take the opportunity to do that. I'm really glad to be joined today by some folks who play such an important role in helping us to be able to guide the city every day. Diane Grooms is everywhere. I think there are 3 of her. Do you ever sleep? Some of you may have seen Chief Grooms around the city. She is responsible. I guess you have all the districts under your leadership, right? We have 7 districts in the District of Columbia, and all the district commanders report directly to her. And then we have 2 of our leading educators. We just got some great news this week about how education is advancing in the city. The District of Columbia was rated as having the highest, greatest improvement among 4th and 8th graders reading and math in the District of Columbia. And that's something we can be really proud of, ladies and gentlemen, because we were compared to 50 other states. And frankly, for the District of Columbia, which is not a state, to be considered the best among all the states, we ought to be really proud of that. And I want to you know, I've been in enough discussions, enough situations where people are comparing the District of Columbia, you know, oftentimes to being the worst of almost everything. Well, we aren't, and it's time for us to take pride in the accomplishments that we are achieving here in the District of Columbia on behalf of a lot of the people who are in this room. And that is, we want you all to be able to not only get through school, but also get through with an education that will make you marketable, that will allow you all to be able to go on to college, go on to another training program, or go on to work, you know, whatever it is that you choose to do, and be able to do that in a successful way. And the 2 ladies who are next to me are helping to lead education here in the city. Deputy Mayor Abigail Smith, who has responsibility for coordinating education across the city, working with our DCPS, DC Public Schools, and also our charter schools. We have now, I guess, 44% of our children are in charter schools at this stage, which means that 56% are in DC Public Schools. And then the person who is leading our DC Public Schools, who I think, too, is doing an outstanding job. They used to call her job superintendent of schools. They don't call it superintendent of schools anymore. We call it chancellor. And she is just beginning her 4th year in her job. Does it feel like that long? It probably does, doesn't it? Anyway, she finished 3 years in her job on November 1st and is now moving into her 4th year. And we are making progress. But frankly, being able to make the level of progress that we hope to make depends on having a safe environment for our students as well. And that's what we want to talk about today. That's what we want to hear about. We're going to begin with some presentations by them just to talk about some of what they see in our schools, around our schools, because some of the most difficult safety issues involving our schools happen outside the schools, happen before people go into school in the morning and after people come out in the evening. So why don't we begin with Chief Grooms. We'll ask you to talk about some of the issues that you all are seeing from a public safety perspective. Each of you will, if you can, take about 5, 6, 7 minutes to talk about that, and then we'll open it up for comments from the students, the youth who are here. Let me make sure to introduce our principal of Cardozo also, so she's not on the panel. Tanya Roan, Dr. Tanya Roan is here with us today, too. So, Chief, why don't you go ahead and start, and then we'll go to you, Deputy Mayor Smith, and then Chancellor Henderson thereafter.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, and the distinguished guests that I get to sit by today. And I just want to say congratulations as well. I'm thrilled to see the newspaper in Washington, D.C., leading the pack, throughout the country with the best education. And I know you both worked so hard, so thank you. I'm here on behalf of Chief Kathy Lanier, who apologizes that she had a family emergency she had to take care of. But I just want to let you know the Chief of Police and our whole team of MPD, really value this topic, youth violence, school safety. As the mayor stated, I have all the patrol districts under me, as well as our school safety division. In fact, Commander Robinson is here, who leads that division, and then I also have Commander Danridge, who has our youth division that investigates our sexual assault, child abuse cases, as well as vast outreach to our young residents in the city. And just statistic-wise, I just want to say over the past couple years, DC has come a long way. I think through coordination with our DC agencies working together. I see Director Stanley from DBRS up there as well. And I see a lot of our adult youth workers that are here. First of all, I would like to give you a hand because it's very important. The work you do, we can't do the job we do without you guys. You really have helped us along the way. So thank you to the youth workers that are here as well. So thank you. Last year, we arrested over 42,000 people in the city, okay? But the good news is, if you consider it good, it's down from 53,000 the year before, 56,000 the year before that. Actually, the rate of arrest is going down. And the chief will tell you, arrest should not indicate good things for us as MPD. We don't want to arrest, okay? That means something's wrong, okay? Crime also has been going down as well, which is a good thing. Out of the 42,000 arrests we made last year, our young people measured 8% of that. Okay, so that means almost 4,000 young people were arrested last year. However, through our partnership with the courts, again, a lot of the young people do not go through the court system but get diverted into several services and programs, to help them through the way. School safety. First, I want to get rid of the myth that our schools are not safe. Schools in D.C. are the safest place for our young men and women to be at, okay? Crime is very, very low in schools. In fact, the #1 crime is theft. Someone might take an iPhone that's laying around, a laptop, purse, coat, but it's property crime, not violent crime. As the mayor stated, a lot of our issues we have come from the outside. Maybe something happens over the weekend, maybe at a go-go, and it comes back and filters into the school or outside the school. Our #1 issue right now is social media. Okay, all of you, I see, have your iPhones, cell phones, and I appreciate that they're off right now. But a lot of the issues we have, a lot of our females that have some of the fights, the arguments in the hallways, and even some of our young men, it's due to the things that are on Instagram, or on the Facebook, and it goes back and forth. Just so you know, some of the tools we have, and I know we have sessions in the summer. We have, in fact, the best summer program in the country as well. with the summer youth employment, as well as a lot of the outreach programs. But some of the tools MPD has, just as technology is enhancing for all of you with your cell phones, laptops, computers, our technology is getting better too for our officers out there. In each of our scout cars, we have computers. Those computers pull up records immediately, if you should get stopped. We can find out backgrounds on previous arrests, previous stops, if you have a warrant. So immediately we can get that information where in the past we have not. We also have what we call the tag readers. I'm sure all of you have seen them. They're on the back of our little car. They will instantaneously tell us if a car is stolen, carjacked, if someone in the car has a warrant, or if someone is missing. We have found a lot of our missing juveniles, missing senior citizens through that program. Our partnering agencies, we work with, again, DRS and CSS. Those of you that might have tracking devices, your GPS devices, guess what? GPS tracking means just that. We can track exactly where you are, where you go, and when you go, okay? And a lot of that is not to hinder or to harass you. It's to keep you safe, okay, to keep you safe. We picked up last year 8,000 truants on MPD. Okay, that's when you're not in school. We picked up 8,000. Last year we picked up 5,000, over 5,000 young people for curfew violation. That's when you're out past midnight. But those numbers are actually coming down from the other years, okay? A lot of our young people don't realize it's against the law to be out after midnight. We do it to try to keep you safe, okay? Not much positive, a lot of good things are happening at 2, 3 in the morning, okay? So we try to do that to keep you safe. But I'm going to probably pass the mic because I really want to hear from you, hear what you have to say, and pass the mic to our experts on schools. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Grooms. And like Chief Grooms, I'm really eager to turn the mics over to you all to hear what ideas you have, what concerns you have, what questions you have. So I know that we all want to reserve most of the time just to really be able to hear from all of you who've taken time on a Saturday to come to a school and share your thoughts. Let me just say a couple of quick words about what I do and some of the things that we think about in terms of how to make sure our young people are safe. So as the mayor said, my name's Abigail Smith. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Education. And as my title suggests, I mostly focus on education. And so when I think about education, and when you all do too, you probably think about schools and what's happening in classrooms and schools. And that is the bulk of the focus that I want to have and that I do have day to day. At the same time, we know that things that happen outside of classrooms affect young people and kids all the time. And so we want to make sure that all of those outside connections to things having to do with, for example, how safe you feel walking to and from school or taking the bus or the metro to and from school, that matters, and that has an impact on how you spend your day at school. So for those reasons, I work closely with people across the government whose jobs are not necessarily to think about education, but are to think about things like transportation and how we have safe routes to and from school, working with Chief Grooms and her colleagues at MPD to make sure that we have ways to ensure that when there is a problem, we quickly are able to address it so that everybody is safe, and that there's a presence of folks around, of adults who young people can go to when they have concerns. I see that someone from our Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services is here today, and that's another place where I work closely with to make sure that the physical and mental health of students, that we're really thinking about that. So even though that's not central when you think about what you're learning in school, it really matters how the health of all of our students is, again, both physical health and mental health, because if you don't have all that going on, then it's really hard to focus and learn and achieve all of the different goals you want to in school. So that's really my job when it comes to issues of safety, is how can I make sure that all of the other people who think about these things for our city are making sure they're focused on how we can ensure that all of our young people feel safe before school, after school, and during school. I'm going to turn the mic over now to Chancellor Henderson, and then I'm really looking forward to hearing what you all have on your minds today.
Thank you. I'll be very, very brief. As Deputy Mayor Smith said, I'm Chancellor Kaya Henderson, and I'm responsible for 111 DCPS schools. And this week we got, as the mayor mentioned, really nice news that our scores have gone up and education in the city is improving. That's great, but it's not great if kids don't feel safe in school. In fact, if you're not safe in school, you're not going to perform your academic best. And so I'm excited to hear from you all what the challenges are and what we could be doing differently to make you feel safer. We did a student survey, a student satisfaction survey at the end of this past school year. And we have a goal. We want 90% of you to really like your school. Well, right now, 78% of you like your school, and that's good. It's better than it has been. But we're dedicated to ensuring that we get that number up to 90. When we look at why you don't like your schools, 3 big things come up. The first one is the condition of your school building. And I'm pleased to say that thanks to the mayor, thanks to the Department of General Services, we are working really hard and really quickly to improve the condition of many of our school buildings. The second reason you say you don't like your school is the supplies, the books, the materials, the technology. And we are investing millions in buying more technology and buying more appropriate books and making sure that you have the supplies that you need. But the third reason why you say you don't like your school is because you don't always feel safe, that you're concerned about bullying, that you're concerned about the climate in your school, and that a lot of the things that happen out in the community spill into schools. And so I'm interested in hearing your ideas about what else we could be doing to prevent that. We, the adults, don't have all the answers. Most of the time, some of the best answers come right from you. And so I'm excited today to hear from you and moving forward to work with you to make DCPS the best school district in this country. Thank you.
You know, you've heard some comments from each one of them. I would ask, because in fact, Chancellor Henderson, you mentioned bullying as a factor that has been mentioned by students. I would like to hear from you all the extent to which you see bullying being a problem in the schools, and then I would like to hear from the folks that are out here who have the experience every day, and to what extent do you think bullying is a problem in our schools? We've seen an example, I guess, of what we call bullying get high profile in the last week or so. How many follow what's going on with the Miami Dolphins football team? I'm surprised there weren't more hands. That's where apparently one lineman was feeling bullied by another one. Kind of hard to believe that somebody who's 312 pounds would feel bullied, but I guess that's possible. Yeah, he is big, and so is the other guy. But apparently it's more than about just one's physical size. And so we've seen a lot of focus on bullying. To what extent do you all actually see bullying being an issue from your perspective? And then I'd like to hear from some of you all. Okay.
We get reports. We actually have an anti-bullying task force at DCPS. We get reports of bullying happening everywhere from the elementary school level through high school, and different schools have different ways of dealing with the bullying problem. But I think the challenge is bullying has existed forever, right? There have always been people who want to take advantage of people who are different or weaker or smaller or whatever. I think the real problem and the reason why bullying is so dangerous at this point is because of the amplifying effect of social media. Social media makes bullying 24/7, right? Previously, you'd be bullied at school, but then when you got home, it might be okay because you had your friends with you or whatever. Now it's constant. It's a barrage. It's all day, every day. It's on Facebook. It's on Twitter. It's on Instagram. And people are telling people to kill themselves, right? And all kinds of crazy things like that. And so I think our young people are feeling a very different level of pressure around the bullying because it just does not stop.
So I would just add one thing, which is that one of the things that we hear a lot about what makes a difference, and I'd like your all's reaction to this, is So two things. One, that it makes a huge difference when adults pay attention to the fact that bullying is going on, rather than saying, I don't want to hear it, or go work this out, and dismiss it. So that when adults take seriously when a young person says, I really am feeling bullied, when adults pay attention. So I'm curious as to whether that resonates with you all, whether that's something that sounds familiar. And then the second thing is that it makes a huge difference when other young people, and as Chancellor Henderson said, this is at elementary school all the way up through high school, but when someone else sticks up for someone when it looks like they're being bullied, in the smallest of ways, by just saying, hey, let's get out of here, and just actually voicing, I'm going to be helpful to you in this situation, not by, slinging, their fists or making a big deal of it, but by simply saying, just as a friend, I see what's going on. So I'm curious as to, and those are two very simple things, and they're probably too simple for many situations, but I'm curious to hear from you all about whether you see that playing out in your schools.
I definitely agree, Chancellor Henderson. We have seen, we get a lot of reports of bullying, and we work with a lot of the principals, the deans at the schools, and we do a lot of sit-downs with the youth. And we have seen an increase in elementary school, as well, all the way up to the high schools. We also go and visit all group homes in the city and do a lot of sit-downs there as well. The number one factor, key, we also involve a lot of the parents, to get involved. We have to communicate together to talk about it. As the mayor said, there's been a lot of highlighted cases regarding this, and I know my school resource officers actually have done several presentations in auditoriums of the schools, in fact, this year. But it's something that, you have to feel comfortable reporting. But I think it's very important to come forward, if it's to your best friend, to your teacher, to your counselor, or to the school resource officer, so we can help you. I think there's adults there to help you, and even your peers will help you through it. So report it, and we'll do our best to help you through it.
Okay. Has anybody out there, anybody in the audience, have you seen bullying taking place? Have you been somebody tried to bully, or have you tried to bully somebody yourself? So I guess the first question is, do you see situations like that in schools, in recreation centers? Let's start with schools. Anybody seen evidence of bullying in schools?
What I was about to say was that, and it's different cases of bullying. Like, people can take joning to a whole different level. If somebody's joning and then you find them up and then they get mad and then they in their feelings and then they think that's bullying, but it's really not. We going back and forth, we playing, but you take something to a whole different level. I just think bullying is when you pick on one person and they intimidated by you and they scared. That's one thing, but joning on the other hand, I don't think that's bullying.
Have you seen instances of somebody being intimidated or being picked on? I'm going to use your words, okay?
Yes.
Can you describe it? You don't have to use names. I don't want you to use names.
Well, it's it might be like an oddball out of everybody in the class that just don't look the same, don't dress the same as everybody else, and they pick on them. And that's all I really see by bullying. But I don't ever see nobody really physically touching somebody else, really bullying them.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for speaking up, because that's really what we want to have, is people to speak up and help us figure out how to address some of these problems. What do you think? And I'll ask this to you and everybody else in the room. What do you think are some of the answers to things like that? Because, it's got to be terrible for the person who's being bullied. You probably don't even want to go to school when things like that happen, especially if it happens every day. That's got to be a terrible feeling to walk into a classroom or walk into the school, and then you see that person who's been picking on you, and then you got to face that every day. So what do you think some of the answers are to be able to solve that?
I think that person should speak up. They should speak up for themselves and let a person of a high authority take care of it. They shouldn't just want to take matters into their own hands, they should let somebody know. That's it.
Do you think that's easy to do?
No, because
What if the person is afraid?
I mean, you don't never want to be labeled as no snitch, but at the end of the day, it's your safety over everybody else. If you feel unsafe, then you should do it incognito, do it on the slide to tell somebody else. Don't make it known that you snitching on somebody.
That's a great choice of words. That was the name of the Miami Dolphins player, right? Richie Incognito. Any other thoughts? Thank you very much for your thoughts, and thank you for speaking up. How about others? How do you deal with a situation like that? I mean, that's just one side of public safety, but it's a very important side in terms of even young folks wanting to go to school in the first place. By the way, this typically happens. This is the 19th Youth Town Hall meeting, and I have not been to one yet where it was like, you go, no, you go, you go, you go. And once folks get started, it's a little different. Okay, thank you.
Repeat the question again.
Well, we were talking about bullying, and this young lady back here she described a situation in which she described it as people being intimidated or people being picked on, which we know happens. And as Chancellor Henderson said, it's gone on forever. You know, the question for us is, how do we deal with it? How do we help somebody who is being picked on, somebody who is being intimidated?
If you're your man or something like that, for real, like.
What was that? What was your?
If you're your man or something like that, and you don't want to see him keep on getting bullied, and people trying to bid off him. I mean, just tell me we ain't going like that, straight like that.
What do you think? What do you think should be done? Let me ask you a question. Let's say you are. What school do you go to school?
Yeah, I go to school.
What school you go to?
Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou. Which one? On East Capitol Street?
Yeah, on East Capitol.
Where?
East Capitol.
East Capitol. Old Evans. That used to be Evans Junior High School. Have you seen any situations in which somebody in your school was being bullied?
Nah.
You have not. Well, let me ask you this then. If you haven't seen it, what keeps it from happening in your school? Why doesn't it happen? Because it happens in a lot of schools.
I guess people don't go like that.
But why? Why is it that people don't do it?
We all grown in this building, right? We all young adults, right? Nobody should, just like I bleed, he gonna bleed. Nobody should be able to put no fear in nobody else hard in here or some real stuff.
Have you had any fights in your school?
Nah.
That's good. That's great. We need to all come out there and see what y'all are doing out there.
Let's tell the truth. It's been off the hook.
Anybody in here seen somebody get bullied in the school or program that they go to? Yes.
Yeah, I've witnessed people being bullied, but it's usually because of some rumors being said and spread and turn into different situations where it's best friends turn against best friends, and they decide to get revenge, and it turns into something even bigger.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen a situation like that? What school do you go to?
Richard Wright, and at my school we have a lot of drama like that.
How many students in your school?
About 300.
300.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a pretty large school. What do you think it's because people are talking about one another and then stuff gets started from that?
Yes, because it's like he say, she say, and people like really start to believe that stuff, and it turns them like really upset, and they start taking it out on other people, even if it's not the person who actually did it.
What do you think, once it gets started, what's the best way to deal with it?
Best way to do is go talk to an adult. Like I've actually been in a situation like that where it was a bunch of he say, she say, and we actually did a mediation with an adult there so we could talk out the issues to see what really went down.
Would you say, I want you to talk, you mentioned a word I want you to try to clarify. Can you stand up for a second so folks can see where you are? What is mediation? Because that is sometimes a really good way to handle situations like. Everybody hear the word she used, mediation?
Mediation is like basically when you talk out a situation through we have a conflict, you have like a very clean-cut conversation using somebody to help advocate for you so everybody has their say in the situation.
And who, you have mediation in your school at Richard Wright?
It depends on the maturity of the students, but sometimes students request mediation from the teachers that they trust.
So two people who having a beef with one another would request a mediation?
Yeah, usually one of the people would request it, and then they would go grab the other student or students, and if they want to come, they would come, and they will work out the situation.
So it kind of gives everybody a way out, huh?
Yes.
Okay, because that's often what happens. People get into a situation and nobody can get out of it because they don't want to look like they backed off, punked out. Have you actually seen situations of mediation in your school? Have you been involved in one?
Yes, I've actually been recently involved in a situation of mediation.
Can you describe what the situation was and tell us how it turned out?
Okay, one of the students, she said that I started some rumors about her, about a situation that happened last school year, and she went to a trusted teacher, and the teacher came to me when I was in music class and pulled me out, and we all sat down together, and we really talked about what was the issue, and everybody had their say on the problem, and it turned out very well, because before, she was ready to fight me, I was ready to fight her, and it was just like about to go like that. But because we had that mediation, we was able to really understand that it wasn't no rumors were actually being started from neither one of us. I was not starting rumors, she wasn't starting rumors. It was actually people wanted to see a fight because they're bored. So yeah, it really worked out.
That happens a lot too. People stand around and start stuff, right?
Yeah,
What
it happens a lot in my
happened
school.
too? I may have seen that in school. I certainly have. Ooh, did you hear what he said? Ooh, you gonna take that?
Yeah.
Do you all actively promote mediation in school?
Yes and no. Usually it's been brought up by the students because we're very intelligent and we actually like to be mature about situations for the most part. But there are some students at the school who feel like fighting is the only answer, so they don't really say anything or do anything about it. And the teachers, they not really aware of the mediation because it's usually brought up by the students.
Thank you. Anybody had a situation where people have brought... Actually, that's a good technique. I want to hear from some folks as to what they think of that as an approach also. Y'all had a situation... Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello. I will say that in order to stop the bullying, I think it should be some protocol where they can report it anonymously to a staff person, because coming with a mediation, you got to come face to face with your bullier.
Yeah.
And necessarily that doesn't always end the conflict, but it can escalate it because now you're labeled as a snitch and now they're getting in trouble, or there's some type of ramification to the bullier. Both ways, both sides, because now the bullier now is going to attack them more, and now the person they're not really protected if it's no solution really coming across.
So, yeah, that's a good point. How do you think, what can we do to set up a system that says, that you can do it anonymously? I'm going to use your word.
It's already policy in place for, for DC, it was anti-bullying policy that was taking place within all the DC policies, so you could write in a policy that gets some type of system in place where a student can report anonymously to a staff person or a person in authority, or create a little section in the school where they can go to the guidance counselor. But also when they report that, it should be also some investigation, because bullying is not always taking physical harm to the individual, but it's more psychological now in terms of targeting individuals like that. And also also can be targeting groups, so it can be one person targeting a specific group.
So if you do it anonymously, let's say that somebody's bullying you, how would you be able to report it in your school? What school do you go to?
I'm actually in college. I'm at UDC, so
Okay.
the process would be a little different opposed to some of the other individuals.
Were
in
you
here.
were you in a DC high school before
Yes,
you
I
went
graduated from Cardozo.
Oh, right here, okay. Was there something in place for you to be able to report bullying here at Cardozo when you were here?
Not that I remember, but also at the same time, I never witnessed bullying, and also, honestly, even if I did witness, I thought it wasn't my responsibility to report it.
Why did you feel that way? And I think you're not alone in that feeling either.
Well, I felt like I'm not the individual that's getting bullied, so why should I step up or quote unquote be a snitch in terms of something that that the individual should be reporting, or if it was one of my friends, I would try to talk to him. But none of my friends wasn't getting bullied.
Do you feel differently about that now that you're in college?
To some level, but also I still feel the same way. It's to some level, I feel like if it's not directly harming me, why should I be the one to stand up for that? And also, it's really no systems in place, so even if I did stand up, who would I report that to?
Yeah.
Or how would I go about to produce that change? I'm only one individual. If there's no system in place or no other organizations that's doing this, I'm just one person, and it's still not making a change, and it's still at the end of the day, the person is still being bullied, or individuals are being bullied.
If you could make one recommendation that you would want us to take away today around what you think we should do, our educators, our police, our fire leaders, folks who could make a difference, what would be your one recommendation?
My one recommendation would be get it somewhere in policy where it's some office or some place where they can report the bullying anonymously on a policy level, because all schools are differently and they're all operating on different things. But if it's in policy and they're in one unison, then they'll be able to act against the bullying in a much larger scale, opposed to one school is having a great policy and the other schools are not following, or different things are happening in one school and it's not being covered throughout the other education.
Let me ask our education folk up here. Do we have, he's recommending a more formal approach than I guess what we have now. And his observation from being at Cardozo, when did you graduate?
Class of 2011.
Okay, 2011. Okay, so you've been out a couple of years now? 3 years, okay. His observation was there were no formal approaches in place to deal with it. And I guess his other observation was, why should he get involved if it's not directly involved with him? Do we have formal approaches in place for people to report bullying? And then I guess the thing I keep hearing too is to be able to do it anonymously so folks don't look like a snitch.
We actually do have a number of opportunities where young people can report bullying. I think we have to do a better job of publicizing them. But the real deal is not, I mean, some school districts have bullying hotlines. That's something that we're open to. But I think these problems are best solved, as the young lady said, in the actual context with the actual people. So if you call, DCPS central office and report a bullying incident, it's really at the school level that we want to take care of it. So I want the principal and the guidance counselors or the trusted teachers to be involved. I take his point that we need to make sure that all kids know that there's a way in the school to do that, and I'll take that back to our anti-bullying task force and make sure that we figure out what the right way is and that we communicate that widely.
Any other suggestion? I asked him for one recommendation, and he gave us one recommendation. Are there other ideas on things that should be done or could be done, especially in our schools? Yes.
I mean, with the whole bullying situation, like you got some people out here that be going to school, they be thinking they tough, this, and then people start trying them to see what they really about. I mean, if you going to school thinking you tough, you all bad, and then somebody try you, then they see you sweet, and you getting bullied, and that's your fault for you going to school think you all big and bad, but if you got somebody that's in school, they don't bother nobody, you see that they stay to themselves, and that's just wrong right there. I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna step in for somebody, and I see they getting bullied, and they don't bother nobody. I'm be like, man, leave them alone. You know me? You wanna mess with somebody, Well.
Wait a minute.
mean-
You
I
know
mean,
what?
that-
Let him
that-
finish, and we'll give you a chance to respond.
I mean, that's
to it,
just
okay?
wrong off bus. What you want? Mess with somebody that ain't bothering nobody for you. Know what I mean, he ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? He trying to do his work. He trying to go to college. You know? But if you going to school, acting like you all tough, big and bad, then niggas get to try you, and they see you sweet, and then you just off buck start getting bullied, and that's your fault. You know what I mean? I ain't got no sympathy for nobody like that.
Do people actually step up? You know, that's almost the opposite of what he said back there. But will people actually step up when they're not directly involved in being bullied or bullying and try to solve the problem? Do people actually do that?
I mean, I ain't gonna speak for nobody else. I'm just the type of person.
No, speak for yourself. That's all
If I
right.
see somebody getting bullied and I see them every day, I know they go to school, they do their work, they really don't bother nobody, they really not in that street life or nothing. I'm gonna step in and be like, cuz, leave him alone, you hear me? Real loud, what you messing with him for? You know what I mean?
Have you done that before?
Yeah.
And what happened?
Mind your business, this and stuff, we get the arguing and stuff, so, you know what I mean? I mean, now ain't nobody get to fight or nothing, but we got the arguing, you know what I mean? But the problem still got resolved, though. You know what I mean? Like, the dude stop messing with the little boy, whatever, he started leaving him alone, you know what I mean?
So you think if you could get people to step in on behalf of somebody that it may stop it?
Yeah.
You obviously have some thoughts on it too. Let me hear from you.
Like, if I see somebody getting bullied and the man ain't trying to help himself, then hey, he can keep on what? But if a man trying to help himself, then I help a man. But if a man not trying to help himself, then I can't help him. I mean, that's just how it is.
So if a person doesn't do something back when they're getting bullied, nobody should get involved in it?
If a man not gonna help himself, then he shouldn't get help at all. I mean, that's just how I look at it.
I would say it shouldn't be the responsibility of a student to step in and intervene for that, because you're going to start another conflict. You might have ended that bullying, but now you might start a violence in your school because what if the bully don't back down, and now you stepped up. I know I'm not going to back down if someone challenged me. So now you started another conflict. There's a fight. It's not bullying no more. Now it's a fight, and now there's probably beefing between those two individuals.
So what's the answer?
You need to get someone in authority to stop it. It shouldn't be my responsibility to stop the bullying. It need to be the people that's getting paid in these task force to come in and change that. Why should I come in and step in and try to stop the bullying in my school and starting conflicts amongst other people when it should have been the educators in the school system that's stopping it or coming and intervening, or they should have some type of system in place where they can report that. Because now you're creating a whole new situation. You might stop the bullying. Now you got more fist fights going on in the school.
I think what he was saying, though, was that he just didn't like somebody being picked on and being intimidated, and he wanted to help out if he could to try to stop the situation. I think is that what you were saying?
Nah, I'm just saying, I just think it's just completely wrong if somebody going to school, they ain't bothering nobody, they stay to themselves every day, you see they ain't really in that street life, what you want to pick on them for? You don't need to get no brownie points for that, you know what I mean? But if somebody acting all tough, you know what I mean, they go to school thinking they all this, but then you start trying him, you see he really sweet for real, but he just act like something he not, then I ain't got no sympathy for a person like that. Do you deserve to get bullied for real? Why you acting like you something you not? You know what I mean?
Well, speak up here. Take the mic.
I don't feel nobody deserve to get bullied, no matter how you act, I feel nobody deserve to get bullied.
Well, I'm not sure anybody would disagree with that. I think the issue is that people do it, and then how do we stop it from happening? And, you know, as the Chancellor said earlier, that's been going on since the world was created, I guess. And there are sometimes, you know, like somebody said they were in a school where bullying just didn't happen. And then there are people who say it does happen. So there are ways to control it. So the question for us is, if we could leave, what would be the recommendations that people want to leave behind so we know how to handle this when it happens? You know, the Chancellor, I think you said, no point in calling the central office, right? Because it has to be a policy. It has not only a policy, but it has to be action right at the school level. to try to stop this. So I agree with you. Bullying shouldn't happen. It's wrong, but it does happen. And when it does happen, then how do we deal with it? We have mediation over here. We had this gentleman right here who said that if somebody was trying to help themselves, then he'd be happy to step in. But if somebody's not trying to help themselves, then that's kind of on him. I guess that's what you said. The guy sitting next to you said the same thing. And then you just said that if you're not in it, you're not in it, right?
To some level, I said that. I was saying that if I'm in it, that means it's a three-way now. It's just instead of that individual being bullied, now I'm in the mix, and now it might turn into something more than just bullying. So opposed to just starting a whole new conflict, it's not my job. So I just walk away unless it's one of my mans or my friends or someone. Then I feel like it's my responsibility. It's just a stranger or individual. But also, if you had that system where you can report it, I might not do anything right then. But if there's the system there, they can that individual can report it and not feel like that they still maybe stood up for that individual and feel like there may be some real change taking place. Also, I would definitely recommend that instead of having just the central hotline, that it be a hotline directly for each school. Like for all the schools in the district, there's a central hotline, but there's also a hotline for that individual school so that they can target. Because if it's going to a central hotline, necessarily it's not always being filtered down to that school and being resolved. It's just basically a hotline that you calling in, and there's no real results. And also, if students don't feel like there's change taking place if they call these hotlines, why would I continue to call this hotline if nothing ain't taking place?
Yeah, I was going to ask you to respond to what we have in place. I'd love to know what's in place in DCPS.
Yep.
But we got several charter schools in here too, which each one is different.
Yep.
So I'd like to hear from them too.
I want to make a quick comment, and then I want to actually ask a question, right? So I actually think bullying is a problem that needs to get solved on a number of fronts, right? So the young people have to feel confident enough to be able to tell somebody, to make a connection with somebody on a hotline, but really with a caring adult that they know in the building, that they know is operating in their best interest. At the same time, we have to create schools where, one, kids are not bored, where they're actually engaged with the work that's happening, but also where adults don't allow this kind of stuff to happen. I've been in schools and I've been in classrooms where I've watched it happening in the hallway, and I've watched some of the adults in the hallway not do anything. Now, I don't know the young people, but I'll be like, excuse me, sir, really, do you think that that's the right and appropriate behavior for now? And we as adults have got to get cool about calling it when we see it and letting people know that that's not going to be tolerated in this place. Finally, you all, as peers, as this young man said, the young man who was here, you all can't let it happen either, because if it's happening to somebody today, it might be happening to you tomorrow. So we have to create a culture across all of our schools where we just don't allow it to happen. And I think that's really important. I guess the other question, and I see a lot of the young people leaving, and I don't want to lose the opportunity, beyond bullying, there's a whole lot of other school safety issues going on, and I'm sort of curious to know what else besides bullying, or what other solutions, not just limited to bullying, should we be thinking about in order to make your schools places that are places where you want to be every day and places where you feel safe? Yes, sir.
Yes, I actually have a two-part comment. One, I would say the bullying situation, I really think it starts at home. A lot of the comments, I appreciate them, start in the school, but it's really how the students act in school is a relation to how they act in their neighborhood and at home. They're going home, they don't have anything to do, so they go out and do whatever they have to do to take that time. Then they go home and go right back to school, and there's no motivation. You don't want to get your education. You don't see a future for yourself in bettering who you are as an individual to do something once you get out of high school. Because out of high school, you're seen as an adult at that point. They're not going to baby you and hold your hand anymore. So I believe mom, dads, aunts, uncles, whoever's in your home needs to let you know, respect, and teach that at home before it can even really leave the neighborhood and leave your place of where you reside. Also, I believe that if you have a task force, that the task force needs to visit the schools that bullying is happening the majority of the time. And even also visit schools in general, across the board, Maryland, D.C., and Virginia, not just in D.C., because as you said, it happens all across the board. So if you have this task force, kind of have a in the field type moment, a week or a month or something, just to visit these schools and say, hey, we're here, market it, put it out on the websites, give flyers away on weekends, go to where the teenagers hang out at, and just kind of say, if you see this happening, report it to this number, call this person, visit this website. Everybody has a cell phone, text message system, email system, whatever the case may be, and if it's happening, you don't want to speak out like the gentleman said, because it might result in a three-way confrontation, and now that bullying is towards you and they want to fight you. But if you can just quickly pull your phone out, text bullying's happening wherever at 27854, whatever the number is, somebody can respond to it. Or if you have an email address, email it when you get home, or go to the library and quickly report it instead of having to talk face-to-face. A lot of students don't like to talk face-to-face with somebody, so they feel that, I'm not sociable to these individuals because I don't see them as somebody I can talk to. I just see them as an educator. I'm going to give them an education from that person, not necessarily talk to you on a different level. So if you give them that outlet to text, email, or maybe even call, that may be better for the technology, driven world that we're in today.
Chief Grooms, do you deal with bullying much from the MPD, from the police department perspective?
We do, sir. Again, a lot through the schools. We work with the principals. A lot of my SROs are approached by some of the students, and we do a lot of mediations, like I said, school assemblies, and we start it young because, we are noticing it's getting younger. But as the Chancellor stated, it's this social media, and I agree with the young lady over there about, a lot of it's rumors, and it just gets taken to another whole level that's just, we can't bring it back down. I've also seen these staged fights. Some of these YouTube videos and videos we see, it just keeps going on and on where groups of young folks are just, fighting, and actually it's to record it versus to stop it. But we see a lot of it in schools and outside the schools, but we do try to, sit down and work on it with them. So.
Hello, I'm with MYLI. I'm the Deputy Youth Mayor of
Tell everybody what MYLI is.
Oh, Mayor's Youth Leader Institute.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And personally, I don't think bullying can be solved. I agree on the fact that the amplifying effect of bullying is social media. And now, for our generation, I think it's more of beefs than bullying because people clash and go back and forth, other than just one person picking on another. If it appears is that, as at that moment, one person is getting agonized, but eventually they're going to go back to the person. It's not bullying, it's a beef. Because bullying is more like middle school and elementary, because that's what I saw people going through in middle school and elementary. During high school, people grow up. They don't bully anybody anymore, what I see, what I view. But they have beefs, it's just beef. So yeah, I don't think bullying can be solved if there is an issue of bullying.
I think we've seen some adults engage in it too. Some of us have anyway, or attempt to. Thank you for your observation on that. There are, and Chancellor was asking about this too, there are other public safety issues that we undoubtedly experience, especially in our schools and in our communities. We have a debate going on in the city now, and I wonder what you all think about it. Have y'all followed the fact that there is now a movement to, I call it decriminalize marijuana use? Who's followed that? Yeah, what do y'all think of that? Basically now if the law says if you are caught possessing marijuana or using marijuana, you are subject to a criminal penalty, which could have you land up in jail. This proposal would say we're going to decriminalize, which is a fancy word for saying that you're not going to put people in jail unless you're using it in schools or using it in recreation centers where there are children. What do y'all think of that? Let me go back here. I'll come back across.
How I feel about that is I feel as though, like, marijuana to me is not like a deep drug, like, that you can die from, like crack cocaine and PCP and all that. Like, I never really seen nobody trip out off of some weed and they just was gone in the brain for the rest of their life. I never seen that. Like, weed to me never killed. I never heard nobody dying off of weed and all that. But yeah, like he said, yeah, I think weed should be legal. That's how I feel. Okay.
Got a reaction on that one, huh? Let me ask you, what about what's being referred to as fake marijuana, fake weed?
I feel it's about fake weed, K2, all that. That's like, why would you want to smoke that? For one, it stink. For one, you be tripping. Like, it just puts you in a whole different world. I don't know about it. I think that should be illegal because, yeah, you can trip out off that. I know people that smoked it one time and they gone forever. They not coming back. They got that natural high every time they wake up. Like, that on the other hand is something lethal. But weed not lethal to me. Like, you just get smart and then that's it.
But then if we say we decriminalize one, and then you got something else being called marijuana that's not decriminalized that may have worse results. You think we can control that? You think you can control one while letting the other? You control people from having possession of fake marijuana while the other is decriminalized?
Yeah, because K2 is illegal now. Like, that's a law. It's illegal. So.
Yeah, but still it looks like marijuana, doesn't it?
No, it don't look like marijuana. I mean, the color kind of sort of, it look like marijuana, but if you see marijuana and then see K2, it's not the same.
I've actually seen both.
So it don't look, to me, it's just the color that look the same. It's not, yeah, it don't look the same to me.
Who was it over here that wanted to say something?
About that marijuana thing, I realize I think you should legalize it, you know what I mean? Because first of all, if you don't want us to smoke that synthetic and lose our mind, you know what I mean? It's that because that's a substitute for marijuana when you get on papers. You know what I mean? That's what we be smoking that, and we most likely everybody lose they mind because they smoking that. But if we was to have marijuana instead of having that synthetic stuff, we wouldn't. You know what I mean? The weight could go down. You know what I mean? Even though most of the time, the crowd waits when everybody get locked up, everybody got marijuana in their system. I understand that, but you know what I mean? What we gonna do? Smoke K2 or we want to smoke tree? K2 or tree? Okay. We
Well,
that.
yeah, but the point she was making. Wait a minute. The point she was making was a good one, and that there's some very dangerous consequences to smoking K2, fake weed, whatever you want to call it, that may be different than the consequences of smoking marijuana. And we're running a campaign right now to help people understand what can happen to you if you smoke K2, if you smoke fake marijuana. And the consequences are a lot worse. I'm just trying to figure out if you say there's no criminal penalties in smoking marijuana or possession of marijuana, but there are with K2, can we really tell the difference? You think you all can tell the difference, Chief? You all would be the ones that would be responsible for having to enforce the law.
Thank you, Mayor.
I mean, it makes it a lot harder on the police, doesn't it?
It is. I mean, even now, K2 is very challenging for us. It's a man-made drug. They keep changing the chemicals, and it's very dangerous to anyone who uses it because you don't know what you're putting in your system. If you look on the package, it says not for human consumption, but people are doing it. Marijuana, I agree, one should not ruin their life by being arrested for it. However, when you're under the influence of anything, alcohol, marijuana, heroin, anything, it has an impact, okay? You're not going to be able to concentrate at school. Even if they legalize or decriminalize marijuana, you won't be able to drive, okay? You can't operate a vehicle under the influence. So you have to consider, and again, for law enforcement, it is challenging. If there's multiple layers, but, we're going to work all together to try to figure it out. But, I agree with the movement. I think nowadays we do not want to see people, get records and, again, it affects your life. So I think it's a good conversation that we're having.
Yes.
I disagree with you because when I smoke marijuana, I can concentrate. I don't let it control my mind. But if I drink, I don't know how to handle it. And K2, it's like that stuff, it's kind of too late for y'all to say y'all going to get it under control because y'all test for marijuana, and then people getting locked up for testing for marijuana, but when we off tree, like, we won't do nothing. We won't break the law. But that's how y'all look at it because y'all grown and y'all think we retarded or something. And then when people smoke K2, that stuff make them like, they ain't got no control over that stuff. They be dying and eating people's face and all that. But when you smoke weed, you just eat food. And you drink and that's it. And you don't do nothing. And you can concentrate in school. I mean, you shouldn't go to school high because you go there to learn and all that. But you can still concentrate. You still like, you able to like, what's the word? To function. To comprehend and function your body and all that. But when you off everything else, it's like you just gone.
But I think that's the question that's before us, and I think that's what Chief Grooms was trying to address too, and that is, given the fact that people could wind up with a record that would follow them for the rest of their life, and there's been a lot of concern about maybe, everybody knows what racial profiling is, right? And in some places, it's a high concentration of African-American folks, young African-American young people, who wind up getting arrested for the possession of or use of marijuana. Should we think about doing something differently than we do now so that people don't wind up with a record?
Yeah, I think y'all should test for K2 instead of marijuana. Because that's what's mainly getting people in trouble. That's why people, every time a youth get locked up and they got marijuana in their system, the judge always say, I think you need to go to drug counseling. That don't even make sense because it's not like I'm smoking crack or something. It's marijuana. It's not doing nothing to me. But the way they look at it is like I'm breaking the law because I smoke marijuana, but that's not the case at all. Like when I break the law, I could be sober. I ain't gotta be high, drunk, or nothing. But like when I go home, I could probably smoke or something. But it's in my system, it stays in my system. But the way I look at it is like I'm crazy. I smoke weed and I need to be locked up and in a psych ward somewhere.
Well, I think what's on the table though, the discussion is whether we should change the law so that people don't wind up with a criminal record because they were smoking marijuana or they were possessing. So
y'all should people who possess K2, that's what y'all need to look at. Marijuana, that ain't bad.
You know people that smoke K2?
Yeah.
And do they react differently than smoking marijuana?
I mean, something like that, but it's like when smoking K2, it's like they look dumb. I can't explain, but you just look stuck and you just look like you just be dozing off and you just be looking stupid like some cluckers. But like when people smoking weed and everything, it's like it's not the same way. It's not like people got different reactions to different drugs. And like she said, you ain't never heard people dying off of marijuana, so why it's bad? Then it come from the earth at that. And then we eat vegetables. Y'all say eat y'all vegetables. When we eat our vegetables, it come from the earth. Like what's wrong with it? God made it.
Pass the mic down to her. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead, young lady.
What I believe is that the schools, they should teach us about marijuana and K2. Like, some people think marijuana doesn't have an effect on you. Well, truthfully, I never smoked marijuana, so I wouldn't know. But I think it does have brain defects. I think that schools should at least teach us about these. I do believe that schools should at least teach us about these drugs so we know that there are long-time consequences instead of like, oh, it's cool now, like I'm cool, it doesn't matter. But actually, it does.
What responsibility do you think people's parents have for teaching them about it? It's one thing to put that on the teachers, but don't you think that starts at home?
I know it starts at home, but all parents don't know what their kids do. So I'm not gonna say, oh, parents, check your kids' pockets, check their bags. It's gonna be on them no matter where they go. But like, and then if you see it at school, if the student look high, like at least like talk to them or like talk to them about drugs. And you know, when they legalize marijuana, you know it's gonna be all over the place. So I think in the first week, when they do legalize marijuana, I think all the schools should at least talk about marijuana, talk about, well, I know K2 is bad, but talk about marijuana, talk about what it is and how, you know, it could hurt you in the long run.
Let me try to make to draw a distinction here also. Actually, the discussion is not about legalizing marijuana. It's about decriminalizing. Everybody know what the difference is? Okay. Anybody want to tell me what the difference is? Who knows what the difference is in legalizing marijuana and decriminalizing? Yes. Yes.
The difference between legalizing it and decriminalizing it is that it won't be, you downgrade the charge in terms of decriminalizing it for small quantities, but the marijuana would still be illegal, so people can still get arrested for large quantities of marijuana opposed to small amounts, which a lot of people are getting locked up, especially young black individuals for small quantities. So it would minimize the charges that would be afflicted for having small quantities of marijuana opposed to legalizing it. So it's still the individual's responsibility.
Yeah, decriminalize means that you wouldn't be likely to go to jail as a result of it, but there still would be some penalty that you would experience. If it was legalized, it'd just be like smoking a cigarette. You know, that you wouldn't have any penalties associated with it. That's not what we're talking about at this stage in the city. We're talking about decriminalizing, which means that people won't wind up with a record like they have now or going to jail as a result of possession. Yes.
Like, I don't smoke, and I don't judge people that smoke.
I don't think they can hear you in the back over there.
I don't smoke, and I don't judge people that smoke, but I'm against marijuana fully. Why? Because I have people in my family, majority of my family, that smoke, and it mess up their brain, it affect their brain and how they act. Like when you high, like think as if like if you think like if you sober. Like, you could do more things when you sober. When you high, you do stuff you don't do, you normally do. So what's the point of smoking? Some people feel when they smoke, they could, I guess, it's a stress reliever. But your stress gonna come back eventually when you're not high. So what's the point of smoking?
Is marijuana use, you may not even know, Chancellor, do you know to what extent it is a problem in our classrooms and the schools?
We don't have any real way of measuring.
Right. Are there discussions, do the teachers or counselors in schools have any discussions about the use of marijuana, or even this issue for that matter?
Yeah, in health class and in some PE classes and in a lot of our advisory groups, we actually do talk about drugs. But I want to pick up on one thing that this young lady said, because we're talking about whether or not we should decriminalize or not, but we're not talking about why young people smoke or drink or do whatever, right? And that's the real problem. I was speaking to a group of young people and about who are truant, and the young lady said, sometimes I don't make it to school every day because I smoke weed before I go, and sometimes it makes me sleepy. And I said, so why are you smoking weed before you go to school? And she said, because I'm stressed out, and if I don't smoke weed before I go to school, I can't control myself. And so the question really is, you know, how do we give our young people the coping mechanisms to deal with the kind of stress that they are under on a day-to-day basis? So why are young people stressed out? And what other things besides smoking weed or drinking can you do to control that stress? I think are some ideas that we'd love to hear to make sure that we're helping our young people cope.
Yes, on the end.
To answer the first part of your question, why I think young people are stressed out is because they don't get any help on how to deal with life from an adult standpoint. They don't have a mentor or someone to let them know that life gets easier. They feel as though they only are told to go to school, do what you're told, come home, do your homework, and live like a robot. They're not told to learn how to deal with what's going to come up as far as peer pressure, being 16, being 17, what you're going to do after school, how you're going to live and work and and pretty much fend for yourself. So all of that is going in their brain as if, what am I going to do if or when my mom and my parents are not around, my dad's not here, I don't have a way out. So the only way out is to go hang with their friends and to do what their friends are doing. And if it seems cool that their friends are smoking weed or doing K2 or whatever, and they seem to be having fun, hey, I'm going to do that too because that's my stress reliever. But as I said before, it starts at home, and mom and dad, aunts, uncles, whoever you live with, grandparents as well, need to let them know, have a sit down with them, half hour a day, once a week or whatever, to kind of see what's going on in their brain and what they're stressed about and help them get out of that stress. And family can be a stress reliever and not doing drugs as a coping mechanism. And also, some students may not know that they have some type of brain function or something that's making them believe that they have stress when they really don't, because they're looking at their friends saying, well, if I'm a male and my friends are having, problems, maybe I'm having the same problems. Maybe I'm going through the same things because we're hanging together, when in actuality, you're not. You're just coping with that because that's who you hang out with and that's your group. So I feel as though if it starts at home again and parents talk to their children each day and kind of not be nosy, but kind of find out what's going on in school, what's going on outside. Why are you outside so long? Why are you not coming home until 2 o'clock in the morning? And maybe they may find out that they're doing things they shouldn't be doing, and they're having this quote-unquote stress reliever as a way out. And it just starts with someone to talk to, a mentor or somebody that you feel comfortable with, to help you deal with the stress instead of going to drugs as a relief from what's going on, in the world and around you.
How do we make sure, because this is an active discussion right now in the city. There are a lot of people talking about it. The city council is talking about changing the law to go back to the terms we used to decriminalize marijuana. How do we make sure that the youth of the city, those who are 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, have a chance to have a voice in this? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think the youth should have a voice in it because a lot of the petty crimes and small amounts of marijuana charges are given to youth. So I think there should be some youth voice involved, but also a partnership with the adults to try to come up with a solution. So some type of, before the policy is developed, like a little sit down with some youth and open discussion similar to this to see what youth think about it, or if it's fair or to some level.
Yeah, I think the youth you need to be more involved, but the thing of it is, when we have a setting such as this, and you had a room fully packed with youth, hardly nobody spoke. Out of this room, you might have had maybe 6 or 7 kids that spoke out, and a lot of them was repetition because some of the same faces spoke up. But the thing that needs to be done, more so my understanding, is that the kids need to understand that they do have a voice. Earlier on, we had one of the young people speak up and say that not a lot of adults are listening to the youth. And I think that's where some of these kids in here, and some of the ones that maybe even left, are sort of losing that understanding that they actually have a voice. Because a lot of the kids are being told, do ABC, and that's just it. And when they get ready to speak up or express themselves, they pretty much been shut down.
But do you feel, let me challenge you on that. Do you feel that that's the dynamic we have in here? And let me tell you why. You got the mayor standing up here, you got the chancellor of schools, you got the deputy mayor for education, you got the assistant police chief, you got the fire chief sitting over here, now you have another deputy mayor in the room. I'll challenge you, I don't agree with that.
No, I'm not saying that you all are not listening. I understand why we're here.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the youth themselves, sometimes they feel like, just in coming to something like this, that they still don't have a voice. I understand that you all want to know.
Okay, but how do we break through that? This was an event today. I do these as regularly as I can. This is the 19th youth town hall meeting I've had since I've been the mayor, and that's exactly to accomplish exactly what you said, to help youth understand that I think we can be a better city if we listen to their voices. So how do we break through that if people come to a session like this and says, we'd love to hear from you for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then people leave feeling like they have no voice?
I'm not sure that's going to have to start from, not at this level right here, but it's going to have to start more so at the schools level, and again, going back to the home. Somebody stated earlier also that a lot of times the parents don't know what the kids are doing. I disagree with that. I think a lot of parents, they do know what's going on, but they tend to want to look the other way due to what maybe they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of these kids get falled off from as well. I mean, I got a lot of kids that I work with, and they tell me things they haven't even told their parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I sometimes know more than what the parents know.
All right.
I think what the gentleman back here was touching on is that youth are coming to these meetings, and you guys are listening to us, and we're really appreciative of that, but they feel like they're not seeing a result of what is coming about from our voice being heard. What is the result? Is there anything that's going to be changed as a result of these meetings, as a result of what you're hearing from us and what you guys are getting from this? What's going to be changed based on our concerns that we're expressing here? Is that what you were trying? Okay. And also, I do want to also touch on earlier you guys were asking for actually, there was a girl over here earlier when we were talking about bullying, and then there was also when you guys were talking about marijuana and how kids can feel like another form of relief, I guess. And I think that she was touching on mediation in her school. I think that a lot of times, she was talking about teacher mediation. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of times kids in their schools don't want to really go to the adults to express how they're feeling about what's going on in their life, to get relief, or to tell them, I'm being bullied. I think it would be better if a peer mediation or mentoring system was implemented in the schools to allow kids to feel like they can talk about their life and what's going on and get advice from their peers, possibly. Those peers who are responsible and feel like they know either how to give advice or what direction to take from the issues that are being expressed by the youth. I think that would be a really good idea, especially because a lot of kids, if you go to an adult for mediation or mentoring, you feel like you're snitching, or you feel like, it's not the same. And so I think that would be a really good idea to implement that.
I thought the mediation idea was a good one too. You clearly are a youth leader, so how do you think we begin to tackle? That's not an easy one. The issue of whatever I may have said as a young person out here actually has some impact.
You're asking for how can what? How?
Well, I thought the concern was that young people come, they may say something, and then there may be the belief that it falls on deaf ears, or people not really doing anything about it, or whatever the case may be. What are some ideas you have? What idea or two do you have to address that?
Well, I think that at the end of every one of these meetings, we hear from the panel and from you on how you think you can change, or what you heard from us, so that we know, you got what we were trying to say, and then what's going to happen in the future to address these concerns. We want to know, instead of us just coming and talking and you guys listening and we leave, and we don't know what happens after that. We want to know what's going to happen after these meetings that's going to create change in our community, so that we know that our voices are being heard and that there's an impact as a result of us speaking. Otherwise, we're not going to want to speak.
Yeah, I had one recently where I was at a meeting over in Southeast where there were a lot of people talking about K2, and people asked there about maybe some changes in legislation that would address the issue a little bit differently than it has. And I said I'd be happy to get the legislation, and I'd be happy to try to do what I could to get it through. And that was like 3 months ago, and I'm still waiting now to get the document. And I've gone back and said, hey, give me what you got, give me what you got. And there were some adults involved in that too. So it's kind of got to be a two-way street as well, because I don't think any of us would come out, to a session like this just to waste your time or to waste ours. We don't want to do that. And I do believe that the youth voices can make a contribution to helping grow our city. But again, we've got to figure out the most effective way to to get that information from people. If people say they're going to do X, then follow up on it. I sometimes go to youth football games, you know, high school football games in the city. And I'll get suggestions there. I got a really great one 2 weeks ago with H.D. Woodson that we've now moved forward to try to implement. So I guess the thing for us is, if we do this, you know, how do we get the word back out? Like, for example, this will be on Channel 16. It'll be shown. People will be able to see and hear some of the comments that were made. But we'd like to know, too, you know, some of the best ways to be able to do that.
Mr. Mayor, I think that this idea is a really smart one, that people need to know. It's one thing to say what you think, and even to know that people are sitting up here and listening to you. It's another thing to see that it actually has an impact. And I wonder whether a very simple thing that we might do, you've been so committed to these youth town halls and making sure that we have these opportunities. Maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes of each town hall in what we all talk about, we should come back with some very specific report backs around, these are some things we've heard, and these are 2 or 3 or 4 things that have happened as a result. And sometimes that list may be short, or we may be really trying to still work on it and figure it out. So I can't promise that we're always going to be able to make good on every suggestion, but I think we can promise that we can come back and say, this is what we have done based on what we've heard, so that you all can very directly hear back what the impact has been.
I agree, and I think we should also use the media as an outlet. I know a lot of kids here said that they're following the marijuana and the K2 legislations going on, and I think if they're following that, they can follow what they want to see changing in their communities. And in addition, there's also the DC Advisory Council and the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute that we like to hear feedback from these meetings as well. That would be great. So.
You know, just to give you an example, I had 2 youth town hall meetings in which we discussed how youth felt about a longer school day. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when I convened both of those sessions, I thought folks were gonna say, you gotta be crazy. We don't wanna go to school longer. That isn't what folks said. There were 2 different sessions in 2 different parts of the city. And what they said, and I've talked to our education leadership about it, they said that it's not so much that we mind a longer school day, it's what you do with it. You know, what goes on. You know, for some of them, if we get the same thing we've been getting, no, we're not interested. But if it's interesting, it keeps us engaged and whatnot, it's not that we just have a problem with, you know, a longer school day. It's whether you make it interesting, to use their words. And that was very helpful. You know, to me, I assume it was very helpful to our educational leadership as well. As we talk about whether you should have a school day that goes, instead of to 3:15, maybe it goes to 4:30 or 5 o'clock or whatever the case may be. And weren't we doing that at one point, Cedric? Reporting back on, yeah. So we need to probably do a better job of that as well. Thank you. We're next.
So I'm basically piggybacking off of what she said. I feel like us being in the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute, we kind of see the change, but with the youth, it's not happening as fast as they want it to happen. We see the change slowly but surely, especially with us being in the Youth Mayor's Cabinet, but I think the youth kind of need to realize that it's not going to happen as fast as you want it to happen or when you want it to happen.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to realize at times. Some of us who are adults don't think change happens fast enough either. But that's the nature of the world we live in, isn't it, unfortunately? Yes, sir. Well, let's see. I want to make sure that anybody who hasn't had a chance, is anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak, a young person who would like to, yes. Wait a minute, there you go.
Thank you. We should put police everywhere so little children and people that can walk in home and being bullied, the police are there to help them, and we should have adults supervision on them, you know, not let them leave the schools without supervision or, you know, just have somebody there for them.
Okay. Go ahead.
I work with kids, so I think the biggest thing is change starts with us as the adult before the children. You can no longer say, do as I say. You have to lead by example. So I think the biggest thing is with the leadership and everything, I'm not saying anything negative against it, but I know working with kids, a lot of times kids feel stereotyped and like we already have judged them. I worked at Baloo for 5 years, and out of the 5 years I was there, when I told people that I worked at Baloo, the first thing they said was, Baloo, really? And it was already stereotyped as to what they are. Kids are kids, no matter where they are across the city. And I think us as adults have to stop stereotyping and automatically assuming that all kids are bad. They're not. They're doing what they see and what they've been taught by us. So if we can change ourselves as adults to lead the kids, then we can't expect for them to follow suit unless we do it. And it starts with us changing our mindsets and changing us being judgmental and stereotyping them. They're doing the same things that many of us did when we were younger too. So let's not look at it like they're doing something that has never been done. All of us were defiant in our own sort of type of way. So I think if we are real with them, they'll be real with us.
No, I think you make an excellent point. And you're right, when people say Baloo, oh, Baloo. One of the things I think you cited earlier was the condition of our schools. And we are in the throes of building a new Baloo High School, which is going to really be fantastic. And I know just changing the physical building isn't going to necessarily change everything that goes on or the attitudes about them. But I think it makes a great value statement when you have a brand new building. This school is probably going to cost us $135 million. And I don't know if you've seen the animated video. It really is. It's just awesome. And I'm hopeful, too, that will contribute to changing attitudes about Baloo, about the East End of the city as well, and about some of our children. And hopefully it will change the attitudes of some of our children about what they think and say as well. I remember when I was working at Covenant House, there was a break-in, and a lot of the computers were stolen. It was a community service center in Southeast. And I brought a number of the young people together and just wanted to see how they felt about what happened. And one of the young persons said to me, basically, what do you expect? You're in Southeast. And what a great conversation point that was, because why should we expect that to happen in Southeast? I live in Southeast. I don't expect that to happen. But that's where it starts. It starts with our own expectations, our own attitudes. And if that's the way you expect people to behave, that's what, that's the best you think can happen, then that's probably about where we will be. And I'm hopeful, too, that, building a new Baloo High School will start a new attitude about Baloo, because we've had some really great people to come out of Baloo High School. Some very successful people have come out of that high school.
All right. I work with a community service organization, and we have a program that I think was very interesting when I was listening to folks talking. And it is a program that actually helps adults deal with their children around the issue of drug use and alcohol use and abuse. And this program is actually operating in several wards in the city. We happen to be in 5 and 6. But I noticed that there were a couple of parents here with their children, and that's key to having that kind of dialogue open up. And I saw a lot of the young people, and I kind of worried that there weren't many adults with them. I'm happy to see that there are adults here who understand the importance of being here and helping the young people to address these challenges. But I just wanted to say that there are organizations around the city already in existence that can help to open this dialogue up. I know I'm going back to a point of dealing with the adults and dealing with the children and helping them in their passage through life, but there is help out there that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Catalina. I work with an organization called Global Kids here in DC. And I guess the only thing I really want to take a moment, I see a couple of people around the room that I've seen and worked with, and God bless you all, and it's great to see kids coming out. Even the kids that left, I still think it's great that they came out and they were participating. Hopefully that'll grow with time. But the one thing that I wanted to really vote for was this young woman's proposition earlier today that that we consider instituting peer council mediation inside of schools. I think that could readily feed into the idea of building school cultures that readily resist bullying as well as K2 marijuana, et cetera, et cetera. there are a lot of problems, you know, in my opinion, that could be solved by instituting that kind of structure inside of schools, and kids can do it themselves. They can take leadership roles themselves, and they can be incentivized for doing that, not only in school, but in their community, et cetera. So thank you.
You want to comment on that, Chancellor?
Yes, and I want to loop back to her broader statement, which was we need to let folks know what we're doing as a result of these. So what I heard today were a couple of things that I've now taken notes on, and I'll go back to my staff at DCPS and try to figure out how we implement, like expanding the number of peer mediation programs in our schools. So on my agenda, and we'll get back to you either. I mean, we have a website called Engage DCPS, where we try to put up the transcripts of meetings that we have and then what the results were. But I'll work with I'll work with Cedric and the mayor's team to figure out how we make sure that gets to their platform. I also heard that we need to make sure that we are publicizing the vehicles that are already in place for young people to deal with bullying, and I heard that we need to make sure that every school has a really local way for kids to be able to report, and I'm going to say beyond bullying, safety issues that happen at the school, so that we have a real local response. Those are the three sort of big takeaways that I had. And then just thinking about this whole entire process, how do we get the word out to more young people so that they know, one, that we do want to hear them, and two, that we have some things in place that they can avail themselves of. And so we'll start thinking from a communication standpoint, how do we begin to reach more and more young people so that they know about the things that we're doing? Those are the things that I took notes on, and that you should expect to see some movement from DCPS on.
And the continuing development of social media, certainly those represent vehicles too for communicating, because virtually everybody's using some form of social media at this stage. Yes, sir.
How you doing, man? I'm Jerry Creighton, Dean of Students here at Cardozo Senior High School. One of the things that I want to know is how can we get more funding? We built this brand new gymnasium here, Dunbar, HD, to open some of these up on the weekends for some of the kids to come in and play ball. We have a weight room, game room, pool table, ping pong. Our kids stay here to 7:30, 8 o'clock every evening, just hanging out in school. I mean, there's no better place for them to hang out than right here.
Well, some of the facilities, some of those you mentioned, are going to be under the leadership of the Department of Parks and Recreation. So they will be used for those purposes, like the basketball facilities, the weight rooms, the pools. So you're absolutely right on target with that. We don't see it as the best use of what we've invested to simply say it's only available from 8:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I completely agree with you. The Deputy Mayor sitting right behind you has DPR under her leadership, and she's nodding her head, and I'm nodding her head with her. All right, sir, you're going to get the last word.
To answer the question of how do we get this information out to students, I don't know if high school still has them, but what about getting this information to the students by having mandatory assemblies? When I was in school, elementary, even middle schools, we had mandatory assemblies that everybody had to go to at least once a month, and they split it up. Some students went in the morning time while some went to class, and then in the evening or afternoon, they flip-flopped. Some went to class and some went to the assembly, and this got information out about maybe some events that are going on, maybe a dance or lunch schedules, things like that, and it was information on what the school was doing. But what about putting this information in those assemblies as well? Like, hey, Cardozo's doing this is great, but let's switch to what DCPS is doing as far as what happened in this meeting and what we're doing as far as the K2 and the marijuana uses, all those other things that are going on, instead of having, and this is great too, having the city town hall meeting, but not every student comes to this. But if you have an assembly, and it also goes back to if you go to school, you can go to it. But while you're in school, mandatory meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning for these particular students. Have all of them in the auditorium and get this information. Whether they get it or not, something different, but at least you get it out there for the ones who care. And then if you have these mandatory meetings once a month, then at least you update them on a consistent basis. It's not just once a year or every 6 months. It's for the 10 or 11 months that they're in school, And that's, once every month, and they know exactly what's going on, so they can get the results of what we are, speaking to you guys.
So we have assemblies in our buildings all the time, right? You'd be amazed at how much information it is that we need to get to kids. So we can't be limited by just drag everybody into the auditorium and talk at them for an hour, right? In fact, our kids are dynamic, and you communicate through lots of different ways. And so we're using social media. I'm on Twitter. I tweet about everything that we do, everything that I do. DCPS, DC Public Schools has a Twitter handle. Lots of our schools have Twitter accounts, and we post stuff there. And in fact, we're finding lots of young people now finding out about things that we're doing through Twitter. Most of our schools have Facebook pages. We have a Facebook page. We have a website. And we have people who are out in school buildings all the time, not just DCPS staff, but key partners who work with our young people. And so there's not a one communication strategy that's going to hit everybody. And so we will be diligent about making sure that we try to communicate this across multiple vehicles and outlets so that young people get it however they get it.
All right, I think we're at the end. I want to thank you all for coming out. There were a lot of people here today, and we still have a lot of people left, left in the room. There are a lot of people who have left already. But, we do these, we try to do these once a month. The challenge that you have is, of course, naturally enough, you don't get the same people every month. You get a different group because the subject may change. There are lots of reasons why. But again, with Channel 16, with social media, there are ways that we can level out the playing field to make sure that the information is available to those who want it. So thank you all very much for coming today. And again, isn't Cardozo High School a beautifully renovated school? Thank you all very much.